You know, while this is a kid's movie, per se, it's not the kind of picture where you're just absolutely going to want to take a brick and beat yourself around the forehead with it because you have to sit through it.
Breathing no go prom.
It's actually pretty funny. Because the jokes are, I guess you could say, sophisticated, subversive, intelligent enough that, the kids are laughing at the obvious stuff.
If you'll excuse me, I need to remove a leech from my no-no zone.
Those of us of a certain age will get it.
Hi, it's me, someone named Justice who makes internet videos other than the kid at Costco with his dad.
Big Justice, we gotta go!
I'm still eating my chicken bake.
So a lot of my favorite films would technically be considered for children, but that's honestly not something I'm ashamed of, because even if a movie doesn't include sex, bad language, or excessive violence, doesn't mean it can't still be beautiful, emotional, exciting, everything you might want in quality cinema. Films like The Lion King, The Incredibles, E.T., The Princess Bride, both Spider-Verse movies, are all just great works of art for everyone that it just so happens children can also appreciate. But then on the opposite end of the spectrum are films in what I like to call the who cares, it's for kids category. These are films made, at least in part, by people who don't view children as human beings deserving of intellectually stimulating storytelling like anyone else, but instead stupid little babies whose lack of media literacy could be exploited for profit. Just throw up on screen whatever bullshit you think will have the best chance of distracting the Rugrats for an hour and a half, and the parents will surely pay up for an oh so precious moment of silence. A prime example of this type of film would be 2010's Furry Vengeance starring Brandon Fraser. See, I was actually one of the 9-year-olds intrigued enough by the Nintendo Wii references and poop jokes in the trailer to drag my poor father to see this thing in a movie theater. As in, we left our domicile and drove to a secondary location for the sole purpose of watching this. I can only wonder how intelligent I might have ended up if seeing this film didn't inflict brain damage on me from a young age. Maybe I could have cured cancer. Unfortunately, we'll never know, so we might as well wreck my psyche some more by watching it again. I bet you freaks would really enjoy that, wouldn't you? So the film opens on the forest of Rocky Springs, which is being driven through by Rob Riggle.
Do as I please!
An actor that I used to kinda like until he did a voice on the Daily Wire animated series Mr. Bircham. But he's scouting the land for real estate when he throws a cigar into the woods. This prompts the woodland creatures led by a raccoon to set off a trap that knocks him off a cliff with a boulder. 5 minutes in and these animals already caught a body. Insane. Then, after an opening credits sequence that's so short I question what the point of it even was, we meet Dan Sanders, played by Brendan Fraser, who's temporarily moved from Chicago to Rocky Springs to oversee the construction of a neighborhood there.
Men seem to be making good progress.
There's nothing like having the boss living on site. Duck.
And I just know the actor playing that construction worker does not have that thick an accent in real life, but was directed to speak with one because it's so much funnier. Could you imagine having a slight accent when speaking your second language? What an idiot! We then meet Dan's wife Tammy, played by Brooke Shields, and son Tyler, played by Matt Prokop, an actor who has had several legal troubles relating to domestic abuse since this movie's release. Now, I would never claim that him being in this movie is what led to this eventual behavior, but you know, I doubt it helped. But anyway, Tyler and Tammy both are missing their home in Chicago. Am I wrong, or would that be an incredibly cringe-worthy thing to post even in 2010? Don't message me, only the real ones know what's up. Meanwhile, Tammy, who's starting as a science teacher at the local high school, is paired with the elderly Mrs. Martin to plan the local forest festival.
We're gonna have so much fun. Betsy the cow, Betsy the cow, Betsy jumped over the moon. Oh boy.
Ew, imagine having to spend time with somebody that's fucking old. Gross. Only in Rocky Springs. Not like back in Chicago where, you know, everyone gets euthanized on their 36th birthday. Also, Mrs. Martin is played by the late Alice Drummond, who 26 years before this was the librarian in the original Ghostbusters. I wonder which of the two projects she was ultimately more proud to have been a part of. A squirrel reports Dan's arrival to the raccoon leader via these video speech bubbles that the animals use to communicate throughout the whole movie. You may wonder why not subtitles, which in theory could make way for a lot more jokes. But see, there's a very simple answer, which is that this movie was made for stupid babies who don't know how to read. Dan then meets his boss, Mr. Lyman, played by Ken Jeong.
Actually, no, let's.
Excuse me?
What's even the joke there? Is it just, ha, language that's not English, different, bad, gross? Dan is offered to have his salary doubled if he stays in Rocky Springs as project manager for an additional 3 years, which he accepts to the disdain of his family.
Yeah, if anybody needs me, I'll be at a friend's house.
Oh, wait, I don't have any friends here.
Yeah, bro, you, just moved there. Unlike me, who lives in the same town where I grew up, so, what's my excuse? Actually, it's just that I'm too broke to ever go out and do anything because I spend all my money on raccoon onesies. The following day, while Dan drives to work, the animals use the boulder trap from the opening, complete with the same exact footage, to pester him.
Miley Cyrus!
What? I'm a child in 2010 and I'm used to hearing the name Miley Cyrus on TV, but now I'm hearing it in a movie theater? That alone qualifies as a joke to me. Gonna go ahead and assume that they used that in the trailer?
The only thing standing in the way are the locals.
Miley Cyrus!
Of course. They trick Dan into falling off a cliff so that later a goofy park ranger comes to report to Tammy and Tyler that he's missing.
I mean, it's kidding. We're gonna find old Daddy. Well, there isn't one piece of...
But a disheveled Dan then hobbles out of the woods, having survived the fall. Then over the next few days, the animals start ramping up their harassment of him, with a woodpecker keeping him awake, a weasel dropping acorns into his breakfast, and skunks sneaking into his car to surprise spray him. And I don't have a problem with performances in comedy movies being really cartoony and over the top, but something about Brendan Fraser's in this one doesn't work for me. I don't exactly know what it is. Maybe it's that he doesn't quite commit hard enough. Maybe it's that none of the other performances in the movie are as cartoony, but something about him here just comes across as really weird. Then while he's bathing, the critters steal his clothes so that he has to go outside in his wife's pink pajamas.
No one will see me. Get in the car, get some clothes, everything will be fine.
But he's a boy, and pink is the color at some point we decided was more associated with girls. Funnily enough, this is actually the one part that I remembered seeing as a kid before rewatching this as an adult, so I must have thought it was funny. I'd like to apologize on behalf of my 9-year-old self for ever enjoying such a close-minded attempt at humor. God, now that I think about it, I also used to laugh at the part in Spider-Man 1 where he told the wrestler, "That's a cute outfit. Did your husband give it to you?" What can I say? I was a monster. Also, after getting into his car and driving away, the skunks spray him again. Because why not? Just do the same exact joke a second time. Who cares? Tammy, meanwhile, keeps working with Mrs. Martin on the Forest Festival.
Oh, no. I remember now. We take the pine cones and we'd,
Hey, look, it's the least senile US politician. Wow, he's so funny and smart. That's some biting political commentary right there. Get this guy his own late night show. Then while at the library, Tyler meets Amber, a local environmental activist girl.
I'm Tyler. Total cheeseball.
Amber, you're funny.
What did he say that was funny? Here, I'll show you everything he said to her so that you have the same information I do.
Hello. Find something? I love books. Wait, how do you know my name? Yep,
That's us. That's us.
So what was funny? I'm out here in my Hinge messages doing a whole song and dance routine just to get one reply back. I know it's not that easy. Dan then has another meeting with Neiman, and they keep mentioning in this movie that Neiman has these Indian investors coming.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We will be ready for Mr. Gupta and the Indian investors.
Dan, the Indians will be here in 10 days.
We could have an Indian-themed barbecue. Instead of burgers, we have 'em buffalo burger, and we have 'em wigwam, and teepee, and squaw. Oh, squaw, wah, wah, wah. You were talking about the Gandhi type of Indians.
And the fact that they keep bringing up that they're Indian makes me think there's gonna be some payoff to it where either Felder is right and they actually are indigenous people, or they're just gonna be like super stereotypically Indian to like an offensive degree. Whichever it ends up being, I can't wait to find out. That evening, a paranoid Dan is having trouble sleeping, so his wife gives him some special herbal tea that causes him to dream of the animals throwing a party at his kitchen. And honestly, with the other things the animals do in this movie, this did not have to be a dream sequence. Them actually doing this would not have been that much of a stretch. But he then wakes up. Wow, he's definitely awake right now. There's no way that he's still dreaming. Ah, the wife's a raccoon! After another manic episode, Tammy insists Dan go see a local psychologist played by Wallace Shawn.
The animals are not out to get you.
I know the animals are not out to get me.
You do?
Yes. Except for these three.
Whom I kind of consider to be a comedy movie legend, having memorable roles in films like The Incredibles and The Princess Bride, but I'm not gonna hold it against him for being in this movie. If it let him afford to take his grandkids on a cruise, all the more power to him. Yeah, because that's a kid's dream vacation, a cruise. I really don't think about most of what I say in life. Tyler informs his dad that Rocky Springs has a history of people failing to colonize it.
This area was first settled by Tuku, a caveman in 9000 BC. Tuku disappeared without a trace.
Me explaining what happened to my demon friend after I got on medication? Tuku disappeared without a trace. So I'm gonna speed through some plot here. After being knocked around by a bear and a porta potty and a fight with the raccoon where it pisses on him, Dan feels he has no choice but for all the animals to be rounded up and imprisoned until the end of the forest festival. A decision that turns his family against him. Conflicted, he rants to the caged raccoon. Funnily enough, Rants to the Caged Raccoon is also the name of the metal band I once formed with my co-workers from Dick's Sporting Goods. But after learning the raccoon has a family, he walks away feeling even more conflicted.
You have a family. All this time, you were protecting them from me.
You were just looking out for your family like me. Man, it turns out this raccoon isn't as different from me as I, Brandon Frasier, initially thought. Then at the long-awaited forest festival, we finally meet the famed Indian investor, who is just an Indian man. His nationality doesn't play into any jokes or anything.
Lyman, you've got a deal.
Which is fine, I actually much prefer it that way, but then why did they feel the need to constantly mention that he was Indian? That's weird, right? But after learning that Neiman plans to relocate all the animals, which will likely result in their deaths, it's the last straw for Dan, who frees all the animals so that they can conduct a coordinated attack on the forest festival, just as Mr. Gupta is about to sign a contract ensuring the destruction of the forest. So the birds shit everywhere. Which reminds me, a couple months ago, a bird shit directly on my head. Why? I wasn't destroying any forests. I was just living my life, man. Isn't that all we're ever trying to do? Just live our lives. Anyway, everyone flees from the festival, and then I just need to show you pretty much the entire scene of how this all wraps up, just so you can experience a sliver of what it was like to actually watch this movie.
Oh, Dan! I'll be right back. And I'll Bruce Lee from the grave! Ha! So long, suckers! So long, suckers!
There's a bear.
driving a golf cart.
Put that tail down. That's gross.
This legitimately feels like a parody of a bad children's movie that you'd see produced by Vought in The Boys. Anyway, months later, the animals are living peacefully with Dan as their park ranger, and the movie ends. So that was Furry Vengeance, and...
Pine cone, and I'm painting it for Christmas.
Oh wait, I guess there's a little stinger with Mrs. Martin and the owl, okay. But anyway, that was Furry Vengeance, and...
Who you trying to get crazy with, ese? Don't you know, loco?
Yeah, I'm sorry, what's happening?
To the one on the flam, boy, it's tough, I just toss that ham in the frying pan, like spam, it's...
Stick around for the credit sequence. It's worth the price of admission. There's a credit cookie in it that you will not believe.
So yeah, the film ends with a music video over the credits that features references to films like Risky Business, Grease, and Blue Lagoon. References I'm sure that this movie's target demographic of young children really appreciated. Actually, knowing 10-year-old me, I was probably really excited by that Grease reference, but a good baseline statistic, 10-year-old me was not. And just double checking that it's actually over this time, and okay. So that was Furry Vengeance. And the last thing I'd want to do is be too overdramatic about what is literally just a bad movie, but I have to admit, I do get a little offended when something is written this lazily, because writing for movies and TV is one of the most highly coveted creative careers out there. One that countless people have spent their lives chasing without any success. So it's sad to see situations where people have achieved the impossible and actually gotten to write a movie, only for them to completely phone it in, writing the most surface level, predictable garbage that today could be easily matched in quality by something written by AI. Then again, I don't even know if the writers are to blame. Their first draft could have been really subversive and intelligent, only for studio meddling to mutate it into the final product we ended up with. In fact, it's likely, given that creating quality art in spite of the capitalistic goals of the Hollywood system is a historically difficult task that is only getting exponentially worse. But like also, I'm still gonna see the new Fantastic Four movie, like immediately, like opening night.